Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into the incredible history and really the massive global impact of Nelson Mandela International Day. We're not just looking at a history lesson here. We're exploring how one man's legacy actually transformed into a modern movement, a movement that asks something very specific of all of us.
Okay, 67. I want you to lock this number into your mind. Seriously, remember it, because this number, it's the absolute key to our entire story today. It is literally the beating heart of the Mandela Day campaign, seamlessly connecting a lifetime of struggle right to our present moment.
So think about it for a second. What can you realistically pull off in just over an hour? I mean, how do you usually spend 67 minutes of your day? Maybe watching a show, commuting? Now ask yourself, how could you use that small, seemingly ordinary pocket of time to completely change someone else's life?
Section 1. A global call to action.
The whole message behind this campaign creates this undeniable, direct bridge between one man's lifelong sacrifice and our daily potential. Basically, Nelson Mandela fought for social justice for 67 years. In return, the global community is just being asked to start with 67 minutes of community service. It's such a powerful way to distill this massive, monumental legacy into a completely bite-sized commitment for the rest of us.
Section 2, 67 years of struggle.
And what an extraordinary journey it was. Back in 1942, a young, super determined law student joined the African National Congress to fight for Black African rights. Fast forward 2 decades to 1962, and his anti-apartheid activism actually leads to his arrest. And it wasn't until 1990, after this unbelievable wave of international pressure, that he was finally released. By 1994, he was inaugurated as South Africa's very first Black president. We're talking about an arc spanning over 6 decades of just relentless dedication.
You know, his legendary resilience wasn't born out of some lack of fear. He wasn't some superhero totally devoid of human emotion. Instead, he made this conscious, daily choice to triumph over it. Courage was an active practice for him. It was something he had to summon every single day for those 67 years.
When you really stop and compare the staggering 27 years he spent imprisoned, enduring literally the harshest conditions on Robben Island and later in Pollsmoor and Victor Verster prisons, to the mere 67 minutes being asked of us, suddenly that call to action feels incredibly doable, doesn't it? I mean, if he could endure nearly 3 decades of confinement for his beliefs, dedicating just a little over an hour of our own time to help others seems not just accessible, but totally necessary.
Section 3. The United Nations Declaration.
So, back in November 2009, the United Nations General Assembly formally adopted Resolution 64/13. This was a historic moment that officially designated July 18th, which is Mandela's birthday, as Nelson Mandela International Day. By 2010, the very first official celebration took place, acting as this massive global endorsement, encouraging everyday individuals to observe the day through real, tangible action. But here's the thing, the UN didn't just recognize the man himself. They recognized his core values. The resolution specifically highlighted his tireless work in conflict resolution, improving race relations, human rights, reconciliation, gender equality, and uplifting underdeveloped communities. These aren't just buzzwords, they are the exact pillars that Mandela Day is built upon. And that brings us to his iconic words, "It always seems impossible until it's done." That perfectly captures the whole spirit of Mandela Day. Because when we look at massive issues, systemic poverty, deep social divisions, or global displacement, it can honestly feel completely overwhelming. But this quote, it reminds us that dismantling those giant global issues always starts with taking that first, seemingly impossible step. It's a literal call to push past that feeling of, I can't do this, and just begin.
Section 4. The Power of 67 Minutes.
Think about how this day radically shifts our focus from just passively remembering a historical figure to actually serving humanity right in our own backyards. Mandela Day isn't just another public holiday where you sit back and rest. It's a day for volunteering. It's about proving the significance of our lives by making a real, noticeable difference to the people around us. And we're seeing this happen across all levels of society right now. Different groups are translating those core values into concrete action in such a beautiful, synergistic way. Schools are combining history lessons with actual community service projects. Corporations are setting up staff volunteer drives. Meanwhile, major organizations like the Nelson Mandela Foundation and the Children's Fund are spearheading large-scale community improvements and fiercely championing the rights of the vulnerable. It's this highly coordinated, multi-level approach to driving real social change.
Section 5. Inspiring change today.
So how can you jump in? Well, there are some incredibly practical, low-barrier ways to get involved right this minute. You don't need a huge budget, you don't need a massive team, and you definitely don't need specialized skills to honor this legacy. You could volunteer at a local shelter, help clean up a neighborhood park, donate goods, or just support a vulnerable neighbor. If you've got 67 minutes and a willingness to help out, you are perfectly equipped to participate. Bringing this right into the present, the official call to action for the 2026 campaign is boldly direct. It says, it is still in your hands to fight poverty and unfairness. This message specifically zeroes in on today's compounding global problems. We're talking about things like forced displacement, the pressure from severe weather events, war, and deepening social divisions. Rather than just looking backward at history, the campaign takes the responsibility for fixing today's most urgent crises and places it squarely in our hands. And taking the time to learn, exactly like we're doing with this explainer right now, is in itself a vital form of action. Education is exactly what equips us to understand the actual root causes of poverty and injustice. It ensures that when we finally do step out to spend our 67 minutes, we're acting with genuine empathy and real grounded awareness.
So we're going to leave you with this final thought. You've seen the history, you understand the call to action, and you know the undeniable power of collective effort. Nelson Mandela gave 67 years of his life to the struggle for justice. The question is, how will you step up and make your 67 minutes count?